Welcome to LaRocque Life podcast. We talk about relationships, adventure, freedom, and just some all-around real and raw conversations. I'm Mike LaRocque. Got my lovely wife Laura with me.
Yeah, I almost stumbled on your L's.
Just about didn't get it.
Lovely Laura LaRocque. It's a tough one. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our 24th episode of the LaRocque Life podcast.
Perfect.
What we want to really jam on quick tonight is about, we're actually going to kind of tie in a little bit about the LaRocque Life podcast.
Yep.
But really just send this message out about not thinking you need to do the whole staircase, not attack, conquer the whole staircase all at once in your life. So whatever your dream is or your desire, or what you want to manifest in your life or your goals that you're working towards, you don't have to figure it all out in one step. It's ultimately just taking one step at a time. And as you take that step, the next step reveals itself.
Right.
Because some of you might have just been saying, I don't even have a goal, or I don't even have a desire. I don't even know what it is. Right. Yeah. Which that is okay too. A lot of people don't, right? They don't know what they want. And so they don't know what they want in a job, in a career, in their relationship, like what they really truly want. Right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a fear of if you actually got really real and honest with yourself about that you wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's true.
So then you just don't even do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right? It's way easier not to than to explore those avenues. Because to be honest, for myself anyway, for a long time, it just felt hopeless. I kind of painted myself into a box, or I thought I did anyway, right? Just being a dumb farm kid from Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Can't even say it anymore. Now that I'm BC.
You're so far away from it now.
Yeah, so far removed.
No, but I will just quickly interject and say, yesterday when we went to the beach and you were wearing your cowboy boots and Wranglers and a white shirt, but you did have your beach hat on, I had wrote in my caption of what I shared, Farmer Beach Mike or something, but I thought afterwards, I was like, oh, I totally should have said hey Mike, your Saskatchewan is showing.
That would have been good, yeah. It would have been better if that hat was Rough Riders. It'd be like, oh, there's that guy.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not being Saskatchewan by any means. We were both born there.
Oh, fuck.
We both come from there, grow up there, love Saskatchewan, but just funny, right?
Yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb. It was an impromptu trip to the beach, so I wasn't ready for it. Didn't have my sandal cowboy boots on.
It's all good. Anyways, okay, so what we want to talk about, I want to just take you on a backwards journey as to why we're even sitting here right now sharing this with you. Because, if we went back 8 years, even if we went back a few years, but more specifically 8 years, if someone would have said to us, oh, you guys will be having a podcast and you'll be, sharing this openly on the internet for anybody and everybody to see, and you're going to just talk about everything about your life, your feelings, you might cry, you might laugh, and you're going to give relationship advice, I would be like, yeah, right.
Well, I'll be like, what not to do. We had a good what not to do.
Right?
Yeah.
But 8 years ago, we were not in a position to be sharing with people about relationships.
No. Well,
again,
like I said,
maybe what not to do.
Yeah.
How to.
Well, what to avoid, I guess. There you go. Anyway, here we are.
We weren't in that mindset.
No.
Anyways, okay, so taking this back to the title of really just taking one step at a time, which is exactly how we are sitting in these seats today, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't see ourselves as podcasters or relationship coaches or anything like that, but all that we really did was took the first step in our relationship, and we didn't even know we needed it at the time, but there was God, universe, higher power that was like, hey, you need to do this work because I have a bigger mission for you. And so the reason we wanted to share this with you is because I think that a lot of people will see themselves in our story, even if it's not about relationship coaching, but just in general. Mm-hmm. Of how you can go from being stuck or uncertain or unsatisfied in a situation to almost the complete opposite, right? And not the complete opposite as in the way of ooh, everything is all rainbows and butterflies and perfect, but just taking you on that trajectory of being, doing, having what you actually want and uncovering what you actually want in the time, like in the process.
Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense.
We're not going to go into our full story because we did that on episode 1. So if you haven't listened to that yet, just go back to episode 1 and you get all of it.
You get all of it, yeah.
Everything that really did, lead us on this path. But we wanted to share a little bit about, I guess, the bigger piece as to why we're sitting here. And that was really one person in our relationship taking the leap, going for it, right? Taking that first step and then opening up an avenue, like many avenues, right? For us to go. Because just to kind of recap, ever in the last 8 years, like we ended up moving to Europe and living in London for 2 years and traveling through Europe. I think we did like 10 countries or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And then a year in Vancouver, which you hear somewhere in our episodes that wasn't the greatest year of our life. It was, because we had Lennox, but at the same time, there was a lot of struggle and growth in that journey. Back to Alberta and now back to Kamloops. So we've changed geographical location a lot, but a lot has grown in our relationship and we've grown a lot closer in that process as well. But again, 8 years ago, we were preparing for a divorce. So your life can take a complete 180.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you always got to be, it's like business or anything, right? You always have to be open to pivot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really what it was. Like we had I know I was had my mindset and you really had your mindset of, yeah, we're getting a divorce. Here we are, right?
Yeah.
And then, just pivot and roll with it, and no answer is final. You're never under the gun on anything. Don't feel like you're going to let anyone down. Or even before we got married, right? It was kind of like, well, do we even get married? But then it's like, well, fuck, the invitations are made and got deposits on things. So I mean, it's just kind of like, well, what are we doing, right? Like that made no sense, but still, or my mind anyway, I still went through with it, right? But that was the time a person could even pump the brakes then. But
well, and a lot of people do.
Yeah,
thankfully.
That's true.
Well, thankfully, not thankfully. I mean, that could go either way, right? Yeah. Again, for us, like we could have, should have not got married, but we did, and here we are, right? Yeah. So, you said, what did you say? Something about me being said that we were getting divorced and you had your mind made up? What did you mean you had your mind made up?
Well, just when we decided basically that we're splitting up, I was under the same impression you were. I was like, okay, well, we'll spend these couple months just to get you on your feet and get me sorted out, and then we're just going to go our separate ways, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I was becoming okay with that.
Right. But, yeah. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to clarify for people listening what that meant. Okay. So, another thing that we created, we created the LaRocque Life podcast, and we have talked about in previous episodes as well that like it doesn't come just, on a silver platter. Like we started LaRocque Life when we lived in London, when we came out with our story and the struggle, which was an interesting thing in itself, that you realize that you're not alone. Because when we started sharing our story at first, like what was that, 6 years ago now?
Yeah.
We got so many messages from people that we even knew that were like, oh, I never would have guessed, because everything seemed so perfect on the outside. But at the same time, they were like, oh, like I totally feel that way too. Or like we're going through troubles, but like we just pretend that we're not, or we don't tell anyone, right?
Right.
So that was really empowering for you to come out and share that. And then also gives me hope. So we started LaRocque Life then, but then we've shared this where I got scared, but I had to go through a lot of personal journey in that way of caring what people thought of me and the rejection of online audiences and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, There's no shortage of that. It never ends, right? I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all a growth. It's all a journey. And so also we wanted to talk a little bit too about my service, my course that I created, which is called Reignited Relationships. And I think that a lot of people don't really like understand where that came from or why it came about.
Right.
And we were going to talk about that a little bit, but from a woman's perspective and a man's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's born on necessity, really. Like, it's basically a step-by-step guide of, like we talked about at the start. We were a great example of what not to do and kind of things to stay away from. So you're able to get that down in an actual program and some tangible steps of way to navigate that, I think.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is I created it for like the Laura of 2012,
Right.
which I've come to realize over these past 8 years that there's a lot of Lauras of 2012, but then Laura of 2012 evolved into Laura of 2014, who had like a whole new set of, not a whole new set, but it was layers, right? Like
Yeah.
once I peeled back that layer and healed the like certain aspects of myself, then there was new layers, and it wasn't quite as wounded, I feel like, but there was still lots of stuff for me to work on. And then so after 2014, Laura, there was like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and it's always still
Yeah, it never
evolving,
ends.
right?
Yeah.
Like I think that we are continually evolving, but we don't always really realize that. And so I always used to say that if just helping one woman overcome her hurt and her fears and, you know, struggle that she has in her life, then all those nights that I say all those as if it was like a lot, but the nights that I spent lying in bed, crying myself to sleep, feeling sorry for myself for being in a situation that I was in, which is again, all was my choice, right? Was the steps leading there, but it made it all worth it.
Right.
Just to be able to help one person. And so I never, if someone again would have told me like those nights that I'd be creating a program for women to walk them through like their own traumas and their wounds and aligning their energy and figuring out what they even want and who they are, and really kind of peeling back the layers, but also just like unpacking the baggage that they're carrying with them from childhood and experiences leading up to that, and expectations of what life should look like instead of experiencing what life does look like. I would have never believed it. I would have been like such a victim and been like, no, I can't see that happening. So bringing us back to the title, like one step at a time, right? Mm-hmm. You're never presented the whole staircase, because if you were presented the whole staircase, you wouldn't do it.
No, not a chance.
Right. And I guess we could even talk about like my love products even, because I just put it off for years and years thinking, oh, I just was looking at the whole staircase thinking, well, that's overwhelming. There's too much to do. But then COVID hit and I had some extra time on my hands. So I just like made the mugs, and then from the mugs made the hats. Yep. And then now there's more coming, right?
Exactly.
But again, step by step. But let's bring, and also like how the love even fits in with reignited relationships, because it's all about like love or fear, choosing to love ourselves unconditionally, and the process that comes with that, right? The healing process that comes with that. So really what I created reignited relationships for was me. And it wasn't just, it's created for that woman who is like potentially in a separation or going through a divorce and wanting to heal and come back to herself, but also for that woman who doesn't even have the relationship, maybe has never had the relationship that she truly desires, because she attracts lunatic men. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also then what it has evolved into too is women who just want a deeper connection, right? They don't have to have gone through chaos and trauma in their relationship, but they do definitely want that deeper connection. And they also know that their relationship's really on autopilot. And that's what happens these days, right? We were talking about this the other day, that all we see is people's highlight reels. So we think that the grass is greener on the other side. And well, those people look really happy on their Instagram feed. They must like be deeply in love and never have the problems.
Got that one picture of the 800 pictures that they took that time. Smile. I want people to think we're happy.
Right. That. And then also like they're not posting about the day that they just spent not really talking to each other or avoiding 100%, each other. Yeah. Right. And so you on the outside are looking and thinking, oh, well, it's better on that side, right? I want that. But the thing is we can cultivate that within ourselves first and create that passion and that lust and that love for ourselves, and also in our relationship again, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time.
And so I think we wanted to make this episode really quick. But what we've done this in the past, and women told us that they really liked it. It was in one of my private groups a few years back. And so I wanted to bring this, we wanted to bring this forward in a podcast, really kind of like Mike's perspective in it. And I pretty much just talked like this whole time. So now you get to have it because some women come and work with me and like their husbands don't even know that they're working with me. It's a secret, right? Because he won't be approving of it. And then other women are like, yeah, my husband totally knows. He thinks it's a great idea. So again, different people at different points of their relationship, and it's all good. It's all fine. But what those women said that time, that couple years ago when you shared, was that it was really beneficial for them to hear your side because you were resistant, right? And so for those women who are feeling like, I can't invest in myself, or my relationship is done, I can't change it, or like the money is just not worth it, or the time's not worth it, or whatever, right? Autopilot is fine. I think it's cool to hear your side of the man side of it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, when it first came up, obviously we talked about it before, but I didn't think you ever had to work on relationships. I thought it was just kind of either it worked or it didn't. So that was my first kind of eye opener or mistake. But just watching you grow, and I said it all the time, is just like I had to either like get on board with it or get out of the way. I didn't want to hold you back. And I don't know if that's just like a me thing or if most guys think that way or what, but I was really watching you come into your own and just start to get that power, like all the power that everyone has, that innate power, and starting to see you light up a little bit and get excited about a few things. And like I said, I was in a really dark place, extremely wounded guy. And but I knew that I either had to like help you out or get the fuck out of the way and stop causing all this pain. I was the source of a lot of it. So in myself, I knew I just had to do something. And that's when it was slow. It was a little bit of a slow progression, but when we decided that we were going to split up or to get a divorce, that's when we started doing different things just to get excited about life again. So that's when I, got a Harley. We got into guns. Sound like a lunatic. Gonna get a divorce, got guns and a motorcycle. But that's when I really started to do that kind of things. And I mean, obviously I had problems with alcohol, and that was starting to slow down a little bit just because, I want to spend more time, riding bikes and stuff like that instead of just getting blacked out drunk. But that was a big one, was just finding those hobbies. And then I was able to get my own just kind of passion again for life, which is, it's so ebb and flow too for me. Like I'm a bit of a weirdo that way, but I can be on cloud nine, and then it's just again another level, right? Those onion layers. And I can't remember who it was on some videos, like just another level, another devil. And that's where I always catch myself. I just feel like, Kate, I'll do that, and very masculine, right? Like, Kate, I'll do this, and I'm gonna hit this point, and I'll be happy, and off I go. And then I get to this next level, and it's like, holy fuck, just open up a whole another can of worms of emotions and shit that I have to fight through in myself, and the disbeliefs that I have in my own world or my own system, right? Of just being a dummy farmer, Indian, whatever, all these things that are really good qualities. They're great qualities, and that's what got me to where I am. But I use those as excuses sometimes of being like, not having to, I don't know, not necessarily work, because I'll work fucking hard. I'll work myself to the bone. But, when I became a PM or in the office, like a project manager, I'm dealing with $1 million jobs, and some of the paperwork and stuff, I was just equating that to like, oh, I'm just a dummy, which is fair. But it's just like, it's the school that school and I didn't get along, right? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm the only guy that almost failed on a reserve for English and math and things like that, right? But that was just me in a school setting, just doesn't work. But you get me in real life situations, and fucking I can pick up forecasting and pick up all these different things where people are really way smarter than me that just don't get it, right? But I think in different ways of people do spreadsheets and different things. I'm like, equate it to cases of Pilsner. It's like, oh, okay, 5 cases of Pilsner and get me this, and then do this. But I mean, everyone has their own mechanisms and their own way to do things. And It's gotten me this far, but it's kind of a regression. But again, I feel like I had to get out of the way for you. And I don't know if every guy has that. That's something that, again, I'm starting to work with some guys about stuff like that and talking to different people about things. But you have to be smart enough to like get the fuck out of the way, even if you truly love this person, get out of the way and let them do their thing. But generally, it'll bring you together because you'll start to come into your own power. You'll watch your woman come into hers, and it's like, oh fuck, now I remember why we were together, and it's like it just blossoms, right? And you grow together. And when you grow together, it's exciting, and you have someone to talk about things with, especially when you get into the self-development world. Like, it's never ending. And there's so much bullshit out there, which are like really truly is, and so many people not living that. But if you have a partner that you can learn with and go through the ups and downs with and have those really deep conversations, like, that's self-development. It's not reading the fucking secret and hoping for the best, right?
It's like implementing everything.
Exactly. And then if you do it with your partner, or if you do it with yourself even, right, that's fine, and you can work through those. But if you have someone to bounce it off with, it just, you can grow so much quicker, and it's all tangible, and you can have those, you have to dig deep, and you'll have to have those hurt, like, you start to uncover shit about yourself, and it's not even maybe it could have been generations ago, and just shit that you're carrying that you have to get past. And by no means is it easy, and I mean, I'm still stuck in a lot of it. Like I say, another level, another devil. I'm going through shit right now where it's just like I'm all fucked up again about just where I am in life and what I'm doing. And um it's frustrating because I always, like, a couple months ago I was like, fuck, this is it, I'm there, I'm on cloud nine, I'm doing it, and just happy and whatever else. And then you hit another level. Every time you go up level, which, not to scare people from up leveling, because fucking it's awesome once you hit one thing and you conquer that and you carry on to another. It's a good thing, and you have to. And we're human, and that's like, we're just a cluster of cells that are just keep expanding, and it's our nature to keep expanding. So don't get comfortable and don't get
You're either
stagnant.
growing or dying.
It really is, right? You
Yeah.
get stagnant and you're not growing anymore, and then you're dying. Or same with muscles. If you're not working out, they atrophy and you just wither away to nothing, right? So you have to keep working. You have to keep striving for that next level. But when you get there, just be prepared that fuck, there's gonna be some shit you gotta go through. And like I say, and I'm going through that on whatever fucking level I'm on now. It's just, it's tough, and but it's, again, it's fun, and it's awesome with my son and with you. Like, I noticed today I was an asshole, but even just talking with my son after, like, realizing how strong and resilient he is, and just even getting a pat on the back from him, it's like, okay, we'll get through this. We'll just carry on, right? So it's it's a never-ending journey. It's tough, but to circle back, I don't know if it's just me or what it is, but I love seeing you in your power. It's a real, like, well, we're a team, and it's like watching your teammates score a goal or do something, right? It's exciting, and it's awesome, and I can see all the hard work you put in, and to see the results now coming out of that it's fucking amazing. It's awesome, right? And I think that's kind of where I'm hitting this new wall on my level, is just like, I want to be there with you, but I'm stuck with this fucking brutal job, and just not being able to explore all that with you, which will come, and it's kind of get here sooner than later. But I just got to deal with that myself right now, and
work through the things that
yeah, and I got to
stopping you.
yeah, and I got to deal with why I feel this way, because I'm an extremely successful person at a very young age, but it just, I think I just keep wanting more and more and more, and I have to learn to slow down and learn to not be so anxious about things, and learn to, which, I mean, I am learning, but I really get into it more of not going to the next, like, always thinking to the next thing, right? And just being able to be. But I mean, in my whole professional career, that's what it's been. It's always been planning and planning for the next. And it's always like 2-week look ahead, 6-week look ahead. And you're always looking ahead. So you can never, like, you can never really settle in in construction, any industry really, like anything that you do, you can't just sit there and just be for too long, or else it'll pass you by, right? So on a construction site or bigger construction sites, it's when you're idle for 2-3 days, you're like, oh fuck, probably gonna pay for this next week or the week after, right? There's always repercussions, and same with life. Like if you lay on the couch for a month straight and eat potato chips and you get fat. I'm a prime example of that, right? Like if you're it's you always have to be moving or learning or doing something, right? Um, with the construction side or with anything or with even just the masculine, like you're always kind of moving and trying to get these next things. But I really have to learn, and maybe that's what this lesson is. I just kind of relax and take everything in, and just things don't have to be a certain way, they can just be, right? I say it a lot, and I thought I had it. I was like, fuck, just be and we'll be fine. And
Mhm.
I was okay for a while, but then again, next you move on, and then you're like, oh fuck, here we are. But this is all things that I would have never known if I didn't know you. I would the answer is definitely not at the bottom of a Pilsner bottle. I spent a lot of time chasing that, and there's nothing in there. But yeah, it's been interesting. So anyway, to circle that all back is I innately knew that I had to either fucking get on board or get out of the way. I knew I was holding you back. And I knew that all the time. Like I knew that when I was drinking, but I don't know, I couldn't stop it. No matter what I did, I couldn't stop it. But I knew that I was holding you back. So that's where I realized, like, okay, I gotta fucking help or get out of the way or do something. So I'm glad I chose to, get on board and do this together. But you have to be patient with your guy if that's what it is, or patient with yourself even when you're moving through this. It just you can't force it. It can't be a fight all the time, or else you'll be so hard on you,
Mhm.
the one that's really trying to initiate the change. You can't fight the whole time, or else it'll beat you down too much. Just say fuck it, it's not worth it, and then you'll just suffer yourself.
Mhm.
But if you just go together and just be patient and help each other, and realize that there's going to be steps backwards, just
Mhm.
knowing that. Even that one, that's probably the biggest lesson, is knowing it's okay to go backwards.
Yeah.
Just go back a bit and you'll slingshot ahead, right?
Mhm.
Like you got to know that, because once you go back a little bit, you'll realize, like, fuck, this is not me anymore. I want to get out of this. And
Yeah.
then you'll get out quickly, and
Yeah.
it's almost like myself. Like I think last week I said I was like Oprah with my fucking weight. It's like, fuck, you're looking good, Mike. Yeah. 6 months ago I was fat as fuck. So I fluctuate so much, but I equate it to muscle memory now, because it's like, but I'm getting older, so I gotta watch what the fuck I'm doing. But it's like, you can get fat, but then I can skinny up and still be toned because my muscles are still there from before. So I like muscle memory, right? But I don't have too many cycles left of that, and it's just gonna be all blubber. But that's the best way to equate it, is like, once you're there, you're like, okay, this is not me anymore. I'm not fat. I'm not this guy. I'm not
Mhm.
this person, right? So it doesn't take long to get out of that. But um, just be patient. That's my biggest thing. Be patient with your man, and don't. That was one thing you did a pretty good job of, was that you didn't, like, what's the word, like, emasculate me, demasculate me,
Emasculate.
emasculate me. So just be mindful of that. That you don't just break the guy down completely. You still have to get, like, he still has to be the man if he's capable and you're okay with that. But um, just don't completely berate him or knock him down, because like, I would just go into a shell and say fuck you,
Mhm.
and just
Get
and then it would be
defensive.
done, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. You just gotta be careful what you do that way, and not tiptoe around it, but just be mindful of, like, he's got some feelings and he's still trying to be a man. But I mean, you have to respect that a bit.
But you know what the irony in that is that I totally emasculated you before I did the work, right? Because I was very controlling, and I didn't mean to be, but looking back, I was very controlling of how I thought our life should look like. That's why you didn't have a bike. That's why you drank a lot. So like, this isn't all on you, right?
No,
There's
but
two people in a relationship. So
I let you do that, though.
yeah,
You know
I
what I
guess
mean? It was just easier.
there was two of us
Yeah,
that
it's
let
just
things
easier to
happen,
fucking go on
right?
cruise control and just, like, yeah, and just be.
Just autopilot, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it eventually crumbles. And that's like the women that I work with. Like, they're just like, I know that my relationship is on autopilot and it's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
it basically down the road will be doomed because we're not consciously growing. I'm not consciously growing.
Yep.
But that's kind of the irony in all of this, is that when I started doing more work on myself and become more conscious of my beliefs and the things that I was, really forcing and trying to make happen in my life, that when I just like let that all go, I gave you your manhood back, right? Like, you wanted a bike, get a bike. I don't care. We're not buying a house together anymore. Like, we're not in our future. So if you get in a bike accident and die, like, not that I wouldn't ever still love you as, a human being that I married and had a life with for a long time, but you're not you're not my husband anymore, right? That was kind of my analogy. So it was like a far extreme, but we had to go to that far extreme so that we could feel what that felt like, where I did give you back your masculine energy, like your manhood, and I flowed back into my feminine, which is exactly what I do. It's like I always explain that relationships are like a dance. And so the autopilot, the unconscious part is like, we're just doing this dance. We know the dance. You drink, I get mad. We had that dance for so many years. We don't go towards the things we really want.
Oh yeah, big time. You could have set your fucking watch to it.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
So
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're gonna fight. Friday is awesome. Well,
no, we don't fight. We just don't talk.
Yeah, it was quiet. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday was awesome. Friday was like, oh shit, here he goes again. And then onward, upward.
Right. And so that's cycles, obviously, but it's a dance. Like we knew our roles. We had this dance. And so I think a lot of time a fear for women in like wanting more or wanting to change their relationship or even just work on themselves is that they're not sure what's going to happen to their partner or what will happen in their relationship. Maybe they will grow apart. And I mean, to be truthfully honest, you might. I mean, I totally believe that, yes, as much as marriage is a contract and something that like we do take very seriously, at the same time, like there's just relationships that aren't meant to carry on together. Right. But bringing that back, what was I just saying?
I don't know. All I got is Garth Brooks in my head. Life's a Dance.
Life's a Dance. I could sing you like the whole lyrics to that song. Man. Right. So coming back to that, so the fear is what will happen to our partner. So thanks for bringing up the dance.
Always.
And you're welcome, guys, for having that song stuck in your head now. Yeah. At least it's a good song. So there's this fear that things won't work out the way you want. But again, that's a form of control. That is not being in your feminine. That is not learning to enjoy the journey and be with trusting the process, right? Enjoying the process. And so what stops, I think, a lot of couples from growing is that they just do this dance because it's comfortable and it's what they know. And then the resistance comes when one person starts to change the steps to that dance, right? And this is my analogy I use with new clients all the time. Your partner is probably going to have some resistance because you're kind of like changing everything that they know, just like children. You have a routine, you have structure, you know what to expect. And when that starts changing, it's like uncertain and you don't know. And then the fear creeps in. So your partner having fear or resistance to you growing, I think, is completely natural. And then when you learn a new dance, right? Like, did you ever take dancing in high school?
I think no, but in junior high or elementary.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Maybe it was junior
record
high.
player out and fucking square dancing, I think, or something.
Yeah, well, and we learned like different kinds of dances. I think it was one of our phys ed classes or something.
You talk about the London one, that'd be perfect.
Oh yeah,
doing
right. We did.
And...
Me and Mike took a hip hop class together in London, and that was brutal, like so bad. But anyways, well, this could be.
There were some good dancers in there. But...
Yeah, we were the worst there. I mean, I'll speak for myself.
Oh,
I was.
Chalk that up. Yeah.
But anyways, let me get this point across. So when you learn a new dance, like it's difficult. Like it is, you don't know the routine, the structure to it, how it's supposed to flow. And so think of you and your partner, you're kind of like navigating new territory because as you uncover like your belief systems and the patterns and the things that you really want and things that aren't serving you anymore, and you start creating new routines and habits and structure in your life, and you start loving yourself more and having more boundaries and being more responsible for your own actions in your life, and doing things that align your energy so that you feel really high vibe and good, that is going to really fuck up the steps in this relationship, and he is going to feel weird. But just remember that when you learn a new dance, you do step on each other's toes.
Right.
You do trip. You do take a few steps forward before you take a few steps back before you take a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's just a really great analogy in relationships in general, like whether you're working on your relationship or working on yourself. Or you're working together as a couple. But again, it's that whole staircase. Like, don't worry about having the whole dance routine figured out. Just take the first step.
Right.
And like you said, have that compassion to your partner if you're the one who's doing the work first, because you're the conscious one. Usually I do find, it's not always, but I do find, I mean, it's probably because I work specifically with women, but I do find that it is women most of the time who want something more, but it makes sense because the feminine, which most women will resonate with having more the qualities of a feminine energy, but they want to be filled up, right? Like they want that connection, they want that love, and they want that presence. And so if that's not happening in the relationship, they are looking for more. They're looking to be filled up. Whereas most men are just kind of like good with the way things are, right?
Generally, if you have a half decent setup, you're just like, yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You get sex every so often, like there's structure in your life. You got meals, you got a job, you got a career, you got a wife, kids, house, like
go golfing, once a weekend and do your thing, and it's like, fuck, I have a good life. I'll be okay. Yeah, most guys are more than content with that.
Yeah. Because it's all they know too, right? But I think women, they get to a point where like, yeah, they do want something deeper. They want more. And so they usually are the one to take the first step. And then I think most times, I mean, if I just look at my own coaching practice alone, like most of the men do end up growing with the women. Not all of them though, and some do separate, and that's fine, but the man still did benefit in some way from her growth. It did open his eyes, and then they went off on a different journey. But it's just the feminine and the masculine dance. And as the woman starts doing all of these things and peeling back the layers and being more in her feminine radiance, she gives the man back that opportunity to find the things that he's passionate about, right? Or that like make him happy, give him that freedom. And like your motorbike gave you, right? And guns gave you. And then really kind of steered you away from the negative habits or like the disempowering habits that you had, right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
And I never ever told you what to do.
And no, you figured that out myself, right?
Yeah. And I think that's key. And I learned that just by accident because I was like, I came from it at a place of like, well, screw you, I'm done with you kind of thing, right? I tried to tell you what to do for years and years and years, and it didn't work. So finally I was just like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm going to work on me. Yeah. And that was actually the biggest change.
Yeah, that's what worked best.
Right? I didn't tell you what to do, and
it's fucking reverse psychology stuff.
Things changed. Right. Yeah. But that's also giving you your manhood back, because the masculine doesn't want to be told what to do.
They want exactly. Freedom, no, that's not. Yeah.
Right. And so I always tell women this: stop nagging and controlling him and just work on your own radiance, work on your own energy, release the stuff that's not serving you, go through that journey, that healing process, and he will grow. He'll grow on his own.
Yeah.
It's an energy that's a North Pole and a South Pole. As you step more into your feminine, he naturally will step more into his masculine. And then you have this polarity in your relationship, which brings back that passion and desire. And it's happened with like 80% of the people I coach. They say like, oh, my relationship is a lot more connected and passionate. And that's what we experienced, right? And then we'd like to continue taking it deeper layer by layer.
Yeah, big time.
But I just wanted to touch on one thing really quickly before we cap off, because you were talking about the do, right? And always like the destination. And I think that's really a big thing for a lot of men. But I have a master class. So if you guys actually want to watch this, just... well, for one, you get it if you join my mailing list, but if you shoot me a message, I can send it to you.
Right.
Because it's called Reconnect. And essentially what I do is break down the feminine and the masculine energy. And in that, I share that even if you are a more masculine man, you still need to have that bit of feminine energy. You still dance within feminine and
No, you
masculines
have to, yeah.
within yourself as a man and as a woman. You just have more one core energy. So most women will identify as having more core feminine energy, but they still need masculine energy, and they dance between the two depending on their careers or, you know, different times of the day, if they're doing stuff with the kids, and they have to be more like structured and like boss like. But then when it comes to come home in your relationship, it's like stepping back into the feminine so that you can create that polarity and that charge. And then so the same thing for men. It's good to be more in your masculine if that's your core energy, and being the structure, being the planner, being the provider. But there is this aspect as well of being in touch with your feminine, which means feeling the feels, relaxing, stepping back to chill for a little bit, right? And all of the qualities that we talk about in the feminine, but men need that dance as well within themselves. And I just noticed that as you were saying that, it was like, yeah, you just, not me telling you what to do because I'm your wife, but you just need to.
Just gonna leave this list here.
I'm just gonna write out some like things for the feminine that maybe you just need to be with for a little bit. Just take a step back and be with your feelings.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
Process what's going on for you. But again, yeah, it's not like it's not emasculating for a man to share his feelings or be with his feelings or cry, right?
No, it goes the it does the opposite. It really does, right?
So. Yeah. And we say this in our podcast all the time that like, I know from my clients, they're all like, I just want him to open up. Well, the most ideal man is like that man who is can be the provider and can really be that masculine, strong energy, but is still soft enough to process, be with, feel, right? Work on your things. And when I say that, I don't mean that like men should provide, women shouldn't. I mean, this isn't like the 1950s, but just the characteristics of it, right? And allowing that to happen in your relationship, because that creates the polarity.
Yep, absolutely.
So anyways, you should never tell your partner what to do. So you just do whatever you want over there.
Don't do that. Don't nag. That's probably the biggest one.
And don't coach your partner.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big thing too, is that when one person in the relationship grows, the other one starts to want to work with somebody too who can help them to move through their stuff. Because I know one lady that I work with specifically, she was like, I'll kind of say things to my husband, like he knows that we're working together and is fully supportive of it, but she'll just kind of say like, give him tips on like beliefs or his wording or different things like that. Not that she's telling him what to do again, but just because they're having a conversation. And she told me that he said to her, like, I need a Laura in my life, but like a male version, because I need someone to help me with that, right? Because like, how important is it now that you're more on this journey in the last 6, 7, 8 years for you to surround yourself with a support system as well?
Oh, you need it because you, like I said, with you, at least I have a teammate in that, but even just with men's group and different things. And that's where I haven't been able to get into those right now, like into a men's group in the last like months. Right. So, I've noticed it. It's a bit of a decline, right? Or a bit of a fallback, but at least I know that and I can jump back into it. It's just right now circumstances aren't really allowing it, but at least I'm aware and I know that you need those groups. You need that, as men, you need that hunting tribe, you need that hunting group and to have the bullshits, and most guys just don't have that. Yeah. So that's where everyone's suffering, but I get that 100%. And, where one person is growing and like, oh fuck, I need somebody to like bounce these feelings off, because we start peeling back those layers and it's fucking tough. And some of them, as a man, you don't want to talk to your wife about that, not right away anyway. Like,
I don't think you should.
No, like you need someone to process that with, and then you can maybe give tidbits of it, or don't even talk to them about it, because there is a lot of stuff in there that, you know, your wife doesn't need to know about, because then she's like, well, what the fuck, man? Who's steering this ship, right? Like, so
she needs to feel safe.
Yeah, exactly. So she doesn't need to know every detail about every little thing.
And same goes for you ladies, right?
Yeah, I don't need to know everything. Like, yeah, exactly. And that's, I always say that at work. Like, I like sausage, but I don't need to see it made, kind of thing. So, but no, 100%. Everybody needs somebody, and that's coaching is kind of a weird thing right now where it's like, oh, it was a buzzword, right? Or is a
Yeah.
buzzword for the last however long, but you got to think about it like sports, or even like back in the day, like old school, like I don't know if it's just a movie thing, but even I remember like old Terry Dallin, like one of my old gym teachers, like even just in school, like there was that fucking gym teacher or health teacher who's like fucking masculine dude, or you thought he was, right?
Just mentors, right?
Yeah, and he taught you a lot of stuff, and you
Mm-hmm.
just if you're open to it, they were there to mentor you, and you need that. And even if you go further back, right, even before school or anything like that, and that's when guys had their hunting tribes, and boys would have to do the rituals to become a man. And then once you're a man, you're part of that tribe, and then
Yeah.
you are part of that group, and then that you were out there to provide for everybody.
Yeah.
And people need that. Like right now, sitting at a desk for fucking 8 hours and then coming home and sitting on the couch and listening to your wife nag at you and your kids screaming, and then you just go to bed to do it all over again and try to process that. And you're like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, and a lot of guys don't have that outlet, and it sucks. And even if you did somehow manage to like figure out a way to try to talk to your wife about it, it's not always the right answer, because then you're hitting her with all this shit and she's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, who did I marry?
Well, that, yeah, like she might not feel safe, but also there's an aspect of like male bonding, right? That like I couldn't even give you what you
No,
would
and a lot of
need.
guys will call guys out on shit where
Yeah,
you're not going to take that from your wife, or not take it nicely, I guess, and take it the
you
right
don't
way
want
or whatever. But
criticism from your wife.
no, not at all. That's the last thing you need, right? So if you can get it from a man, and not saying you just need to get belittled or put down the whole time, but sometimes you need the fucking honest truth of like, straighten the fuck out. This is what you got to do, right?
So true. Because if I said something to you and then one of your guy friends said like the exact same thing to you, you'd be like so mad at me, right?
Oh, 100%. Like there's a meme I seen the other day. I always equate things to weight, but it was like, if your wife said you're like, hey, you're getting a little chubby, you'd get mad and do whatever, right? Or shut down and go into a shell. But then there's a meme
Well,
of
you
like,
probably feel worthless because she
yeah.
told you that, or
Oh,
she doesn't
100%.
think you're
You're like,
sexy.
what the hell? But then there was a meme of some guy who was like, hey, do you think I'm fat, to his buddy? And his buddy's like, yeah, I got 3 friends, and I can't remember what it was. Like, you ate 2 of them. It was like, yeah, like shit like that. You have to hear it from a guy. You'll just, you'll make that decision whether you take it and change or you don't.
Yeah.
So be it. But you don't want to hear that from your wife at all.
No, exactly.
That'll scar you for fucking life, man.
Yeah. So I think like a really important point to say is that as women, do grow and evolve, it's not good to coach your husband, like try to coach your husband.
That's it. No, that's a
Let
battle
him
you're
be.
not going to, you got enough shit to deal with on your own, like going through your own stuff. You don't need to try to coach your husband, because it's going to be a hurt. You're just in for a world of hurt. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, he
There's
doesn't
no
want
good outcome.
it.
Yeah. There's no good outcome to that.
So
really.
that's exactly what reignited relationships is. Like it is to reignite your relationship, but to reignite that relationship with yourself and that feminine radiance, right? Which
that feminine radiance is a fucking magnet. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You'll be drawn to that like nobody's business. And men, you'll see that. Even females, right? You find that masculine man in the room like instantly. You know who the alpha is, and women are drawn to that, and men too. Like they'll find that lady in a group or if you had a dance, like some lady in a red dress just out there like just dancing in her radiance, eyes shut,
right?
just owning it, fucking just going, and you're instantly attracted to that. Not saying that you're gonna like have sex with this person or have an affair or whatever, but just like you're attracted to that. It's instant attraction. And I notice that with women all the time. They'll find the alpha in the room, and they're like, everyone's around that person, man or woman.
Yeah.
They're instantly just like a draw to that person. You can't explain it. If you pull that person aside and it's like, hey, like what made you do that? He's like, I don't know. I like that person.
Yeah.
So
it's all energy.
It really is, right? And if you get that in your relationship, and then you get that magnetism in your bedroom, it's like, holy fuck, like watch out, right? So there's definite upsides to it for sure.
Yeah. And I know we said like, there's certain things that you shouldn't talk about with your partner. We're not saying don't open up and share with your partner, but there's just, I think that when you do have outside support, mentorship, right? Or coaching support, or just like that tribe, same goes for women having like a community, like I hate the word, but sisterhood. Like I feel like that's just not me. But
and the traveling counts.
Yeah, just the sisterhood is like huge. And you always say this to me, where like women used to have that back in the day too, right? Like they had their, I guess you would still call it tribes, but I just think of it more as community, just right? Where it was like going way back, you washed your clothes together, right? Like you're out in the yard and I literally think of that song I've been listening to, The Suds in the Bucket and the Clothes Hanging Out on the Line.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I've been listening to Country Hit List from 2000s. Little Sarah Evans there for you.
Yeah. That's the Garth part
Did you hear that?
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, like women were just a lot more together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we've kind of lost that. And so being with women, being the presence of women, I feel like so much women now are almost like in competition or like jealous of each other and or just not even spending time with other women because they're so busy and then they're trying to do it all on their own. Whereas when you have that community and that support as well, like you raise your kids together, you have that person that you call on to just be like, hey, I need to take my toddler because I'm sick, or like,
Yeah.
you know, someone you really trust. And then just that person that you trust to like fully express yourself and be a woman with. And then women feel that radiance together the same way men feel that masculine together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what my point of that was.
Oh, well, I think that is the point, really.
Yeah.
Just find those people, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, we should probably wrap her up.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, where can people find you?
Well, you can follow me at LaRocque.com. I mean, ultimately, if you just go to LaRocque.com, you can get the guidebook, the communication guidebook there. You can shoot me a message from there to get the master class. You can see everything there is to see about my service and apply for that if that's you. I only work with 5 women at a time, so I do have 2 spots left open.
Right.
And you can get my social links there. So Instagram, Facebook is where I am at. And then we have LaRocque Life together, obviously. So you can follow us on Instagram. It's LaRocque Life, or Facebook, which is also LaRocque Life. And I just wanted to really like interject quickly because there are men being like, well, where do I find this men's support? And Mike and I are in the works. We are in the works of creating, it's not going to happen like real quick, but we are creating a program together for couples who want to grow together. And there's going to be the masculine portion of it, and there's going to be the feminine portion of it. And then Reignited Relationships, which is my service, my program that we were just talking about.
Yep.
That is women only. Like that is just for women to grow. And I mean, who knows, down the line, Mike will probably create one just for men, but we're kind of covering that as with the couples one, because we recognize that there's women who want to grow, but then we recognize that there are also couples that want to grow together as well.
Yeah, 100%. And that men's thing, it will come. I'm just, like I say, just got to get through what we're doing and just keep moving forward with some of once that couple one comes together, I think that's going to be huge. And then it'll just keep rolling from there. Yeah.
And then one last thing too, I will be announcing it sometime this week. Well, after this podcast comes out, about I'm taking my service into a group service as well, which will be a group of women. So that thing I just talked about, where women coming together and having that support system and just that collaboration instead of competition, right? And meeting women who are going through something that you're going through or on a similar journey is like so empowering. I've met so many of my now, like, I have my best friends, like my high school best friends. Like, you know, you have best friends from different stages of your life.
Yeah.
I have some best friends right now, which it sounds kind of funny to say, but in today's world, I've never actually met them online. Met them in person. I've only met them online, but like we talk every single day.
Yeah.
And like they know so much about me right now. So because we're on similar journeys, so that sisterhood, that community is so huge. And I recognize that. And I feel like women need that a lot more. And I also want to help more women, but I can only work with so many women at a time, one-on-one with my time and my values and my commitment to my family. So I'm creating a group where it'll be a small, intimate group that will walk through the same things we do walk through in my one-to-one service, but as a group.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's coming. You can watch for that too.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Well, let's wrap it up. That was great.
Yeah, I love you. I said it first this time.
I love you. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great week.